Hello friend, welcome to in the topic number 3, paying banker. This is the last point of topic number 3, the results of return of the check. In the previous lecture, we discussed about the fraud check and the negligence of the paying banker. So this is the last point in this lecture, and previous lecture we discussed the definition, meaning of paying banker, precaution of payment of customer check, right and duties of paying banker, statutory protection. This lecture we looking the payment of fraud check and reason to return of the check. So definition of the check, we know the as per the Negotiable Instrument Act 1881 given the definition of the check. Check is an instrument draw on a specific banker ordering to pay a specific amount to a specific person after date. So as per the Act section 6, a check is a bill of exchange draw on specific banker and not expressed to be payable otherwise than on the demand. So it is the duty of the paying banker whenever they present the check into the counter in bank, that time the given payment behalf of their customers. So return of the check, we looking here the reasons. A paying banker is a banker on whom the check is draw should be paid and check when it is present for the payment. So paying banker is one who draw a bank who pay on the check of his customer. So there the need precaution to bank to follow the instruction of the customer before the payment of the check. It is statutory obligation on bank to honor the customer check. However, is the obligation of the banker determinate is the following cases. But whenever the bank has a doubt about the fraud check, the doubt about the signature and insufficient balance in the account, that time bank can refuse the payment of customer. So in these cases, the banker must refuse the payment of check without the inquiring about the liability. So what is the reason for the return of the check? So first thing, the disability of the customer or mental disability of the customer. Banker is the bound to the honor of his customer check when they receive the notice that customer is become absolutely insane or the unsound mind. So but so long as the customer act rationally and understand the properly, his check should not be refused. But whenever the bank receive the notice that the disability mentally of the person, that time bank can refuse the customer check. So before he refuse the payment on insanity basis, the banker must have the confirm the information from reliable sources about the insanity or the mental disability of the person. So in the case of disability, mental disability, that time bank refuse the check of customer. Garnishee order, the banker is the bound to comply with the order issued by the High Court, the restraining him from paying the money from the customer account. The banker must refuse the payment of the check present after the receipt of the garnishee order or any of the order of the court attaching with the customer money. So whenever the person is liable to money of the third parties and he not giving the payment, that time the third party is taken order from the High Court, it is the garnishee order, and that time there is the obligation on the banker the not pay the customer check because of the following the High Court orders. So garnishee order the case, the bank can refuse the payment of the check. The next is the balance on the account. The computation of the balance is also necessary for the see that the status is customer account in such permitted to honoring the check of present in the bank. So in the care of overdraft, if he has a sufficient credit balance, the banker should honor the check. If the balance is inadequate, that time bank can refuse the demand of check or the payment of the check. So insufficient of the balance, that time bank can refuse the check for the payment. The next is the outdated check. The check must be signed by a drawer. The customer, the drawer is normally put his signature at the bottom side and right hand the check. Here we looking the signature and the signature of must that the person in whose name on the account keep is the authorized. So here the person's name is given and the signature of that person is necessary. So date is the important. The maturity of the check is the 3 months. After 3 months it's become a stale check. So the outdated check bank can refuse for the payment. The next is the difference in the account. The amount in the word and the figure are differ. It means the amount payable is not certain unless the instrument make the scalar the amount payable. It cannot be regarded as the valid check. So the bank can ask the confirmation from the side of the customer and the bank refuse the payment of the check. The banker should therefore satisfy himself that the amount has not been altered. Sometimes somebody else is the intentionally alter the amount in the check. So section 18 of the Negotiable Instrument Act the lays down if the amount payable is ordered but stated differently in figure and the word, then there may be return of the check. The banker has the authority to return on check. So amount in the figure, the amount in the word must be matched, and that's the reason the refuse of the check. Next is the notice of the assignment of the credit balance. The check must be signed by the drawer. The customer, the drawer normally put the signature at the bottom right hand. The check and the signature must that the person whose name on the account keep on authorized agent. So assignment of credit balance, when the assign of the credit balance that the minimum balance or the sum balance is required, that time the bank looking to that they maintain the certain percent of balance, and this below this balance not allowed to the payment of the check, and bank can refuse the demand of checks. So this is the reason of return of the check. Next reason, the return of the check, the breach of trust. The banker must stop payment of the check on the trust account. If the banker come to know the customer who operating trust account, the contemplates to use the fund of the trust account in breach of the trust. So whenever the contact between the person and the trust, whenever the bank think that the person misuse of the trust account, that time the bank can refuse the demand of the check and refuse and return of the check for the payment. Next is the defective title of the party. In any person the presenting the check has a defective title to the check, and the banker is aware of this fact, can refuse to the owner of such check without any risk, because if make a payment of the check in such person, it will be not made in good faith, and the payment will be not deemed as the payment in due course is applied to the bearer checks. So defective title of the party, when the party is not confirmed, that time defectiveness of the title, that time bank can refuse the payment of check. So this is the reason of the return of the check. The next reason is about the countermanding of the payment by the customer. Check is the unconditional order given by the drawer to the drawee, means the bank, and the drawer is the competent to cancel or withdraw such order any time before of the payment is made. So before of the payment, the customer give the confirmation to bank and give special intimation about the stopping the payment. That time bank follow the order of the customer before of the payment. So this banker shall be have to comply with the countermanded order issued by the drawer without the inquiring of the reason why the customer stopping payment. Bank can follow the order and the refuse the demand of the check. The next is the death of the drawer or death of the customer. The banker must stop the payment of check of signed by the customer on receipt of the reliable information about death of the customer. This is because the order of the customer to the banker the ceases the operate on occurrence of his death. It is the pointed out here that the notice of death of the customer should be served on the same branch where the customer had the account and not on any other branch. So notice is given the customer's death, that time bank is liable to refuse the payment of check for the safer side for the customers and the nominee of the customers. The next reason is about the insolvency of the drawer. The banker must stop the payment of customer account as soon as he receives the information insolvency petition has been filed against of the customer. Payment made before such time as the protected under the law by if the banker pay the check even after being aware insolvency petition. Such payment will be made at his own risk and shall have the make such payment available to official receive. So in the case of insolvency, the bank return the check, and this is the reason. The next reason is about the return of the check, refusing payment in various cases. In check is the part dated or stale check, the post dated check. If the check is containing the apparent the material alternation which is not properly authentic, if the check is drawn on the another branch and same bank, if the signature of the drawer is the project on the does not tally with the person's signature, if the fund of the customer is account are not sufficient, that time bank can refuse the payment of the check. So these are the reason we looking in here. So what we learn from this lecture, the paying banker is one who is a drawee bank who pay on the check of his customer. It is statutory obligation on the bank to honor the customer check, but in certain cases bank can refuse the payment. These cases of the banker must refuse the payment check without the inquiry and the liability. Reason of the return of check, the mental disability of the customer, the garnish order taken from the court, the insufficient balance in the account, the counter mandate given by the special instruction by the customer, breach of the trust, the misuse of the trust account, insolvency of the customer or the death of customer. These are the reasons bank can refuse the payment of check. So references for this topic, you can use the Nirali publication book and Success publication book for your study. Next is the assignment question. The question will be asked on this point. What are the reasons of return of checks? These are the reasons to return of the checks. This question will be asked for 10 to 15 marks in final examination as well as term exam. Here we are looking the question on the topic number 3, paying banker as per the term and pattern. Answer in 20 words for the 2 marks. What is mean by paying banker? The negligence of paying banker. State the 2 duties and the right of paying banker, and what is mean by fraud check. The next question will be asked for the 50 words, like a short notes type of question for 5 marks or 6 marks. What are the statutory protection to paying banker in the Act of Negotiable Instrument Act? Negligence of paying banker, and what are the things in mention as per the law in negligence of paying banker? Precaution to collection of customer check. What are the precaution taken by the paying banker collection of the customer check? What is a fraud check? These are the question will be asked in the 50 words. Next, answer in 150 words. 10 mark question will be asked in examination. Write a note on the payment of the fraud check, and what are things looking in the fraud check. What are the rights of the paying banker? What are the duties of paying banker? And write a short note on the return of check under Negotiable Instrument Act 1881. The next is the answer in 300 words. What is mean by paying banker, and explain the precaution in the payment of consumer checks. Define paying banker, explain the statutory protection of paying banker or the state and explain the protection offered by the Negotiable Instrument Act 1881, the paying banker. What are the duties and right of paying banker? Under the what circumstances is the banker justified the refusing payment of check draw upon him? So thank you for watching this video, and here the end of the lecture number 5 on the topic 3. The next time we will be looking the topic number 4, the collecting banker. Thank you.